Okay, quick tutorial on how to get started with modding. You'll download the template first, then you go to Documents, your Visual Studio version, and Templates, Project Templates, and then you have your this thing that you downloaded, which shouldn't be here, but whatever. And from there you just put the zip for the template in here. Actually just delete this for now. And yeah, then we can start Visual Studio. I'm gonna explain what the div is in just a second. Let me just go need it in just a second. Let me just click on create a new project. And then you will see that your template is here. I think it's automatically here, yeah. So just, yeah, create your project. And the first thing that you want to do is go to edit project file, and you will have to change this to point to your managed folder from your installation. So, in my case, it's obviously here. And so, you can just directly get properties, and you have like your location here. Yeah, then you just paste that in here. And then that's that. You can also, use the export here, where the files are exported to. You should change your assembly name to whatever you want, or the mod's name. Actually. These should never be changed. This is the assembly version, not too important. Nothing's really relying on that. Allow unsafe blocks is important because we are using a web-sized assembly C# file where we can access all of the private methods and fields. And so we need the allow unsafe blocks. Now, you see that it is still missing 2 references. For that, we will go into the folder that we just created, which is just plugin 2 for me. And in here, you will drag and drop the lib folder for the library. Just move it over. Also, I want to leave this here, but yeah. And then you can just add another project. I think you can also just load the dependencies or whatever, it works. And then you should be all good, hopefully. This is the internal name. I'll show you what that means in just a second. You have the displayed name, which is also displayed in the top left. It's the user-friendly name, as called from Backbone plugin, from Babynex, sorry. And you have your version number, which is pretty important. As you can see, for example, in our dependency, we're dependent on MapBI, and we are dependent on the version minimum of 1.0.0.1. Since in 1.0.0.0 there's a lot of methods missing, and so we actually have to make sure that we are dependent on that version. So these versions, like this version, is very important. You should definitely keep track of them. Super good. You will have, thankfully, your mono behavior methods, since we are inheriting from Base Unity plugin, and that's also, inheriting from mono behavior. Sorry. So we have void awake, start, and update, which is pretty neat. In awake, we are initializing the settings, and we are giving as parameter the config from our plugin, which is just this automatically. It's our Base Unity plugin config. Every mod has its own config file, and we get that from the Base Unity plugin. And we're giving that as a parameter because we have to use these here to bind our settings. This is for config manager to display it when you press F1 to display our settings. As an example, we have a keyboard shortcut. We bind the keyboard shortcut to the category name category name. It's basically the sub name for the categories. For example, in debug we have the save states and the sheets, which are two different categories, and they're separate by them. An example on how to use them, for example, so you can also just do category name dot to whatever, I don't know. Actually, to show the next thing, if we, oh yeah, okay, this should go for you have a name for the thing, or like for the keyboard shortcut, which is displayed on the left of it. We have a default value, which is in this case F2. We can also just do F3 and F4 or whatever key you want. And we are using modding here, namespace modding, which is from Modding API. And it has some very nice utilities. For example, we have we can just automatically set a position. This essentially just creates a config description, right? Yeah, a config description, which is just empty and sets the position to 2, or the number that you put into here. The numbers that you put into here are kind of confusing. They are from top to bottom. So the 1 is the bottom, 2 is the top, and so on. The higher number, the further up on the list. Makes kind of sense, I guess. Also, from config manager util, we have a create button, which automatically creates or uses a button drawer to create a button. You can also just create your own drawer. You should go onto the config manager GitHub website to see how that works. We give over as a parameter our method, which is this method here, which should log into the console test. We have the category name yet again. We also have a name and like for the button, and we have a description that's being displayed if you hover over the button. We also have a method that creates a website button, so that just technically this is just like a button that does process.start in this website. It's not too crazy, but it's handy to have a website button for your plugin. And yeah, you just link your GitHub website. I can just show to you how that works. If you just build it, it will automatically put this into your plugins folder. Here in plugins, it's right here. So that works with that already. So we can just start the game. To get the console, I'll just show that real quick. We go to the config, and you can see that it also created this config where we have our buttons and our keyboard shortcuts. Here we can also see that we have the description for the category, and we have the displayed name, the version number, and the internal name. The internal name is also the one that's used as the config file name. More important than that is the Babinix config. If we scroll down a bit, you can see that this is usually set to false. So instead, just write true in here, and then if you start the game, you'll have this console that you already saw. Since we're using MapAPI, it starts in a smaller window, which is pretty neat. It also gives control over our mouse because we have the Object Explorer. Thankfully, it's also good. The Unity Object Explorer is a very important thing. Or like, it's not super needed for modding, but it's very helpful to see what's actually going on. You can just download it from the link below, and then you just put in the folder like this into the plugins folder, and it has like these two files in here. In our Object Explorer, we have, if you know Unity, you know this, we have all of the game objects that are attached to the scene. So for example, we have our canvas with the UI, and you can just, go through these things yourself if you like to. we also have our manager, which has our components automatically attached to it. So you have our test plugin down here. That's pretty much that. If you look at our menu, we can see we have our little category names. And we have our button, which with our description, which should just log test down here. So that works. And yeah, that's how you use that. Okay, I'm gonna now show you how you actually start modding. We will use, like we usually use start because most of the things are initialized in Wake. So like if we actually want to mod something, we're gonna use it in start. For example, here's our modding API. We're using the mainstays modding, and one thing that you might want to do is create some UI for your game. This is done very easily with the modding API. So we have our canvas. We just use canvas util.create canvas, and we can even specify a sorting order. This is basically the order in which the canvas is rendered. So like if we put it into 1, it's rendered earlier. So for example, we have a vignette in the menu, and that's basically just like a black filter, or like a black box which is semi-transparent over the whole UI. So everything's a bit darker. So if we just put this into 1, this wouldn't be affected by it anymore. Yeah, if you just do it like that, it's affected by it and it's a bit darker. But I can show you that in game again. Then the canvas transform that's a parent. The parent should be the GameObject.transform. This is basically the Haiku, the WeaponX manager as the GameObject, and so we put that as a parent. Then to see that it's actually our plugin, just name it test plugin or whatever. And now to create our text panel, we can actually modding API has a lot of different things on Canvas util. We can also create buttons, images, or text. I'm just gonna go with text for now, because it's simple to show. The parent is canvas. The text is just gonna be test for now. The font size is 20, or like I'm just gonna take 20 for now. Middle center, like you can obviously like do whatever you want here. I'm just gonna recommend you do middle center because it's easier to work with, for me at least personally, and I'll show you how and why. And then the complicated part, the rect data. I try to explain it as simple as possible. This is basically defining the rect data of our text panel, or like of our panel, to be more precise. So for example, the first parameter is our size delta. The size, if we just put in 0, 0, is full screen. So this way, we're going to create a panel that's as big as the screen. The anchor of the text now, we can use either the anchor position or something that I prefer doing is instead of using the position, we actually use the a min anchor and a max anchor. What these are is basically defining where the text is going to be on the panel. So basically, we're going to define min anchor as, or like I'm just going to define min anchor as 0, 0. 0, 0 is bottom left. If you like with this like too much for you right now and you want to read an explanation for it, in the modding API in the Canvas util, there's a very good explanation for it. You can see everything that I'm going to explain to you right now. So for example, you have here 0, 0 is bottom left, 1, 1 is top right, and so on. Basically, you have X and Y. So 0 is left, and 1 is right, and 0 is bottom, and 1 is top. That makes sense, hopefully. Somehow, for this game, the canvas is a bit weird. It's not, one is not top right, one is actually the middle of the screen because somehow the screen width is divided by 2. So instead, to get to the top right corner, we're gonna do 2, 2. And just to, even though that's probably not really correct, but how I at least understood it and how it made sense to me, is just think of it as it's as a little box, more or less. So we span it from bottom left to top right corner, and it's gonna place at the top right corner, more or less like that. Also, you have these, you have like the actual, formula for it. We just have anchor max minus anchor min times screen width. So as I said, screen width is divided by 2, so you have to take that into account. But we have 2 minus 0 is 2, and then we have 2, divided by 2 is 1, so we have just the screen width. So this should, by that logic, this should place us at the screen width and the screen height, because, 2 minus 0 is 2, yeah, and what I just said, for both height and width. The font is just canvas utl.game font, which is also like a reason why we're doing this in start, because it's getting the game font in awake. And if what I said is correct, this should technically create a text in the top right of the screen, basically at the width and the height of our screen. Our resolution is 1920 times 1080 right now, as you can see here. So the position should technically be the same. And as you can see, it is. It's at 1920 and 1080. You can see it's up there. Also just move it a bit further down. And then you can see that, like you can see how much you have to move it to get it where you want. So another example of what we can do is, or like to position it, is, sorry, talking us out. So yeah, how do we position this? We have the anchor position, and this basically works as an offset to where it is related in relation to the anchor points. So we can place it in the middle and the top of the screen, and to not have it like inside the window, you can just give it a small -20, little happy -20, and then it should technically be quite a bit further down. We can see if that actually works pretty quick, and we see it worked. Also, what I said about the rendering order, I don't know if you actually can see it, but it's a bit darker than this one because this is sorted on the order 1, so it's rendered before the vignette. So if you turn off the vignette, you see that you can see that the text color is actually getting brighter. It's kind of like a a visual play, I guess, or whatever, but this is actually not increasing the light. It just looks a bit weird. But yeah, if you just put in here a 1, then you will see that yeah, that's not the case anymore. Otherwise, yeah, you can also not have the text area be full screen. You can also just make a smaller text area if you want to do stuff like, or like if you don't want it like overflown or whatever. But I'm just gonna use that. And now you can see it's actually a bit brighter. I don't know if you can actually see it, but yeah, it is, trust me. Okay, anyway, yeah, that's how the rendering works. It should all make a lot of sense, I think. It's pretty straightforward. If you use, or like if you know how the anchors work. The next step that you might want to do is you want to change some variables of the game. Now, how do we know how the game works? You will have to download a program called the NSpy. If you don't know how to use it, you just click on open, and then you will open this SMPC file. Then we can just start searching through it. For example, how about we're gonna just increase the player health. So we're just gonna search for health and then see for anything that says player health. You see that here we have enemy health, which is not what we want. But here we also have a script called player health. This also has a singleton, so we have an instance, so we can actually access this class, which is pretty neat. And then we just scroll through it, and then we see, oh, this has an add health method. We want to see how it's actually used from the game. We can right click it and then click on analyze. And then we can see here how it's, or like what it's used by and what it's accessed by and called by. For example, we have the add healing count method. And this is something with the current part spent. So this to me looks like a lot of like, the repair thing, like healing basically from the game. You also see the auto repair time, so it's healing. So this should work pretty well. It also you can also just see that it has it automatically updates the health bar and the animation. Obviously you can also just access the current health yourself and increase it, but the method already exists. It has some fancy stuff to it, so why not just use it? Now how do we access this is, since we have the publicized assembly file, we can just access any method. This is right now public, but okay, for example, like there's a private method, but since we are referencing the publicized one, we should technically be able to go player health.instance. I think it was reset healing count or something. Yeah, reset healing count. Even though it's private, we can access it, as I just mentioned. So that works. But yeah, we just want to add some health. So whenever you press the button, we just gonna add 2 health to the player. Another thing that you can do is you can hook into methods. There's 2 ways of doing that. There's IL hooks, like you can do IL dot whatever, and then you can use your ILs, IL cursor magic. I won't be able to explain to you how it works since I'm not very knowledgeable about them. I usually just use the on methods like hooks. For example, we can do on player health, and we can actually just look into here real quick, and we see stun and take damage, and we see that it just decreases the current health right here, and it also does a lot of animation stuff and whatnot, and also checks if you're dead, which is kind of neat. So I don't know, why not? Otherwise, maybe as a better example, we could actually hook into this. For example, not for example, but yeah, we can also see where it's used by, analyze, and then we see, used by. And we see that you just have a few things that actually call this. We can also see this another method. It's also take damage in the side. I don't know what this does. Oh, this is actually called by pretty much everything. Okay, so instead of doing whatever I did there, actually why not hook into player health dot take damage. And yet again, let it be automatically generated for you. And it's something funny that we could do, and I'm just gonna try that out. We're gonna call the original method with the self parameter because we have to, and instead of the damage that it's getting, we're just gonna give ourselves 0 damage, and we're just gonna pass the side as it is. We can also debug the damage that we would have taken. so that we can see that if it worked or not. And that way, I think it makes sense, right? Like we are basically just interfering within the method, and whenever the method is being called, we are just gonna pass the method as it is, but you know, pass 0 damage, so that we actually don't get damage. That's not the best way of doing it. What we also could do is actually just not do this, and that way we would just actually don't take any damage. Why not just try that out for now? This way, like, the method actually just wouldn't be called at all. Like, yeah, we just basically remove the whole method at that point. With F7 you can remove that for the Unity Explorer. And top left console, you should also see the damage being logged. Yeah, as you can see, we are not taking any damage anymore. It's actually kind of funny. Okay, sorry. I like that a lot. Okay, yeah, that seems so. I hope that made sense. I'll quickly explain to you how you can get this mod onto the mod installer Scarab for Haiku. You go into your export tier that you put here, which is for me coding finished mods. And in here we have a shard.txt file. We also have the alpha of the mod. And now you will create your, you know, your GitHub repository, and then after you've done all of that and uploaded the file to release, you can go, you're gonna go on this link, the modlinks.mixml, and you create a pull request for this. You see, like, you already have a you know, a scheme to use, and you just use the scheme that's specified in here. You put in the name, so for this is set test plugin or whatever it was. Testing plugins as the description. The version was 0.0.0, and only one of these two, as it says here. So we're just gonna take this thing right here. And the reason why I showed you the hash, or like how to get the hash, is because you will need the hash from your alpha, which is thankfully just in here. So you put in the hash like that, and here you just put in your GitHub link from your repo. So, you know, I'm just gonna take this one. That's, yeah. Is that approximately? Dependency, in this case we used the modding API. So I'm just gonna copy the name over. Modding API. We don't have that, and we also don't really use any of that. And actually, obviously, yeah, you can have like the repository, which I just showed to you. You can have it in here. This is actually like what's linking to your repository. The other thing, like in here, it's actually like the download link, obviously. Like it'll be like something like that. I mean, you can also like see the actual file in here. And then just like consider like that. And that's how you add mod to Scarab. Okay. I think that's it. Have fun modding. Bye.